This conference
like
will
what all
now
we're
be
going to
recorded.
discuss. So initially, before starting Power BI, I just want to ask whether do you have any experience or any in BI reporting kind of tool earlier, or is the first time you're looking for any BI reporting?
I was
Guys,
in SSRS reports, like a little
okay,
bit experience on SSRS reports, but since Power BI it's a new age technology, so most of my clients are willing to migrate to that. So that is the reason I'm going to get it trained.
okay, fine. So have exposure in SSRS, right? Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, little bit.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, even though it is not only SSRS, anything Cognos or Oracle, whatever, Tableau, everything related to something. I mean, somewhat with Power BI and ClickWave, but having a little exposure in other BI tool will understand much better what is the Power BI. So, if we go to the topics, like we have many things in Power BI. I'll walk you through the what exactly why we need Power BI compared to other tools in the market. We have Tableau, ClickView, because which are before Power BI, many companies have started using Tableau, and even though Power BI is recently emerging, and we have a lot more capabilities in Power BI, and also very cost effective because being a Microsoft product, and all the companies and all the organizations are being moved to Power BI recently. I mean, in the past 2 to 3 years. Uh, Most of the companies are relying on their Excel reporting and SSRS reporting. So every company who is relying on Microsoft are currently migrating their reports and also starting their new projects in Power BI. So we'll see we have different components in Power BI. I mean, in general, Power BI we use for the self-service BI tool. A self-service BI tool is something like where the end users or the business users will start developing their own reports, or whatever the input we are giving to them, the data set or data source. So they will analyze the data and they'll start using their own reports. That is we call as the self-service BI. So all the Power BI, Tableau, these are all comes under self-service BI. So this is the main thing in Power BI, like not only developing the report from our end, even the end users also can develop their own reports out of the data whatever we have given to them. And in here in Power BI we have different components, like we have called Power BI Desktop, which is a desktop tool which can be downloaded from powerbi.com, and we can install in our system and start developing the reports. Another thing, we have something called Power BI Service, where Power BI Service is the cloud service, which is like we can log into powerbi.com and we can start developing the reports. And that is where the end users and business users comes into picture. They can log in with their credentials and they can start developing the reports. And again, we have something called Power BI Mobile. Power BI Mobile is where the reports can be seen in the mobile at the tabs. I mean, even that can be useful for us as well as for the business users. So these are the three main components in Power BI, like Power BI Desktop, Power BI Service, and Power BI Mobile. And for Power BI Service, we require the credentials, like where we can use, and also it cannot be like not each and every credential, like we cannot log in with our own Gmail or Hotmail, something like that. We need some organization domain credentials so that we can purchase a license of Power BI for a month or so based on the company's strength, and we can start using that. And for this course, I'll be providing the login domain account as well, so that you can start using the Power BI service. It's not like just theoretically explaining what Power BI service is, and I'll be providing the hands-on, like how can we use different components in Power BI service as well. So the course content starts like what exactly the Power BI and how to install, and what we have different options here. And also we'll see uh, 3 to 4 sources like Excel, SQL Server, and OData feed. OData feed is something like open data protocol. Like for example, there are some instances we need to start developing the reports with the URL which fetches the data. So that kind of URL differs from the company to company, but the similar kind of way we can start using developing reports using OData feed, which can be uh, we can Google the OData feeds, the URLs, where the URL the REST API fetches the data. So using that, we can start developing the reports. I will also be walking through that. And we have several options in Power BI called import and direct query. What exactly the difference between these two, and we have some limitations of direct query because they cannot use direct query at all places. We can use import at all places. What is the difference and what are the limitations we have? And also we have something called relationships in Power BI, where one to one, one to many to one, and many to many as well. Again, once we have the source is set up, and once we have all the data is in Power BI, and we can start developing the reports in Power BI. Again, we have different visuals in Power BI desktop by default. From Microsoft, we have 20 to 25 visuals by default in Power BI desktop, and we can also download the visuals from Microsoft Store. Earlier, it was called Visual Store. Now they have integrated into Microsoft Store, where we can download them, and we call them as custom visuals. So custom visuals are something additional to the default visuals if you want to represent the data in eye-catching format and any other functionalities we can we can even show in the report. So for that we can go for the custom visuals. So even to access the custom visuals, we need an account, like the license account from Power BI. uh, Without that we cannot even access the custom visuals. And something we call Power BI service, I was telling, where the end user or the business user consumes our data and they can start building their own reports. There, the very first point is we have to publish the reports. I mean, once the report development is done from our end, we have to deploy somewhere or we have to publish somewhere. So that is we call as Power BI service, and we call publishing the reports. And again, we have something called dashboards and gateways, and we have different type of gateways called enterprise gateway and personal gateway, and what the difference is. And we have something called workspaces, where it is a content store, or we can call as a set of reports and set of data sets are combined together called as the workspaces, and how to configure them, and what are the content packs, and how can we enable security in Power BI service. That all we will see in Power BI service. And again, we have something called SSAS tabular. SSAS tabular, you might have already worked in SSRS, so you might have already known what is SSAS, which is called SQL Server Analysis Services, which is mainly we use for analysis purposes. And we have MDX, like multidimensional, and also we have tabular. Tabular is mainly for Power BI, which is in-memory model, where instead of pushing the data to the cloud service, SSAS tabular acts as the intermediate layer between the actual source and Power BI. And even that is important because many of the organizations don't rely only on Power BI desktop to handle the data. So if they don't want to push the data to cloud service, they can have an intermediate layer in between the source and Power BI service, which is called SSAS tabular, where they will fetch all the data here, and they will construct a model out of it, and they can and SSAS tabular acts as the source for the Power BI desktop or Power BI service. Like how to do and how to configure that we'll see. And also, whatever the data we are getting to SSAS tabular, we need to refresh, we need to update them for a day, or like based on the frequency we have. So how to automate that, with using a job called SQL Server Agent Jobs, with the help of SSIS as well. I'll walk you through that. And we have something called DAX, which is the data analysis expressions. It is primarily a functional language, like how our SQL Server, how we use our SQL Server. The similar kind of, we have something called DAX, which is primarily meant for Power BI. So Power BI, it's not only just report development. We have to manipulate the data, and we have to do some metrics calculations based on the requirements. So for that, we cannot every time we have to go back to SQL Server and write the logic there, and again we have to push the data to Power BI desktop. So instead of that, we have some flexible language called DAX where we can create our own calculated columns. I mean, like which are additional columns. I can call it derived columns, like what in SQL Server we have, and something called measures, which is aggregated form of the data. It is mainly used for metrics. And again, we have something called how we have the variables in SQL Server. Similarly, we have something called variables in Power BI as well, where we can declare once and we can use the variables everywhere in the expression. And similarly, the time intelligence, like how MTD, YTD, and QTD works in Power BI. So everything, and there are many things in DAX, but I'll be covering like the main functions and also what are the frequently used DAX functions in our real time and in most of the cases which is suitable. And also there are something called calendar functions where we can create our custom calendar and also make relationships with the dates using the calendar functions. So I'll be walking through that as well. And again, we have some advanced concepts in Power BI, like parameters, like defining the parameters for the reports and drill through, like guiding us from one report to other report by passing the filter. And again, we have something called bookmarks where we can enable the bookmarks, like it is kind of a shortcut for the reports. And row level security is something like, for example, if there are many organizations in many employees in the organizations, if they want to restrict the data from them, we can apply the row level security so that each of them can see only particular data. I mean, they cannot see all the data. We can restrict them to see on seeing the data. So that is we call as row level security, which can be enabled in Power BI desktop, and that can also be seen in Power BI service. And also we have something called dynamic measures and dynamic axes in charts and dynamic filters. We'll be seeing that. And in general, we have something called Q&A, like based on the input or based on the data set we have. Instead of developing our own report or calculation, we can ask a question to the Power BI. So Power BI will give the answer, which is we call as Q&A. And again, this Q&A, as I was telling earlier, we have some import and direct query. This Q&A doesn't support in direct query mode. I'll walk you through, like whenever we are going to the limitations of the direct query, I'll be telling all this. And we have something called themes. The themes are mainly for look and feel of the report, where after the report development, by on the top of the default theme, we can start developing the reports. But once it is done, if we want to change the look and feel of the report, we can import the themes. Again, these themes also can be imported from Microsoft Store, which again we need credentials to do that. And we have Power BI updates, like for each and every month we have Power BI updates. I mean, there will be new updates from Power BI. It can be like a new connectors or new features or new formatting options in the report. Everything they will be providing. I think before first or second week of each and every month, we'll be getting an update. But the September update has not yet out. I'm expecting before second week, and I'll be covering the last 3 months update, whatever we have come from the Power BI. And finally, I'll be asking you guys to develop your own report out of the data, whatever I'm going to give. I'll be giving a use case, like what exactly the data and what all you have to do, and you're going to develop a report with some metrics defined by me. And I mean, it is a mix of like report development and also involvement of DAX. So it can be a kind of practical hands-on exposure for you at the end of the session. So this is what the actual Power BI was talking about, which is a self-service BI service where the end users, or we can call them as business users, for analyzing the data, and they can visualize and they can also share the data. So sharing is something what all we can do in Power BI service. The sharing cannot be done in Power BI desktop. And as I was telling earlier, we have something called Power BI desktop, Power BI service. And again, in the Power BI service, we have something called Power BI Pro and Premium. I am referring Power BI Pro as a licensed user. I mean, earlier I was talking we need to have some domain credentials to access the Power BI, right? So that is what we call as Power BI Pro. And Power BI Premium is the capacity user for the workspace. A Power BI Premium is not related to the user, but it relates to the capacity, like how much data we can push to Power BI service from Power BI desktop. So that is called Power BI Premium. So in the service, I will show what the differences we have with Power BI Pro and what we have with Power BI Premium. And there is something called premium cost. Like premium is not generally free. We have to shell some money. Like we have three different kind of categories. Like we have to purchase the nodes from Power BI. I mean from the Microsoft, and we have something dedicated server to uh, process our data on daily basis. So it is like a premium. Premium is something at the beyond the scope of the Power BI Pro, like handling the data and handling uh, the data refresh and amount of volume of data refresh. Everything will be taken care of Power BI Premium. And again, the Power BI mobile, like I told, we can see our reports and tabs and mobiles after the development is done. So Power BI Desktop is mainly used for getting the data from multiple sources. It can be anything. We have many sources for Power BI Desktop for now. The main purpose is we have to first initially establish the connection with the source. So that is the only part we have to do at the beginning. Later, everything can be done in Power BI Desktop. I mean, like initially, we have to bring the data from the sources. It can be a single source or multiple sources. And in the Power BI, we'll just analyze the data and we can manipulate the data. I mean, manipulate in the sense like if you want to do any calculations on top of it, or if you want to do any aggregation measures, so everything can be done using DAX and report development and formatting the reports. So that is what the Power BI Desktop alone. And again, the Power BI service, which I was talking like cloud service, where we call it self-service BI, where we can implement the security and we can share the reports with the other users in the organization. And also we have something called scheduled data refresh. Like we can schedule the refresh of the data for each and every hour or per day or per week. That depends on again the actual requirements. So this is the exact
Yeah,
architect.
I have a question. Sorry, can I ask?
Yeah, please go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. So you were talking about like scheduling the jobs, right? Like scheduling a data refresh.
Yes,
Yeah. So what is the duration? Like any interference do you have or?
yes, we have something called scheduled data refresh. So that is what, for example, if we have 100 records in the table, or let's say, for example, when we publish the report to Power BI service, we are not only publishing just the report, we are publishing the report as well as the underlying data. So everything will be published to Power BI service. But today we have only 100 records, and the metrics also can be shown out of the 100 records only. But for tomorrow, if we have 100 more records added to the database, so we have 200 records in the database, but in the report level, we have just 100 records only. The Power BI doesn't know like whether the underlying data source has been updated or not. So we have to take care to update the data based on the like how the OLTP or the source systems getting updated. Based on that, we have to schedule a refresh. It means that the new and updated data will be pulling from the source, and the metrics also will be changing based on the data.
Yeah.
That thing
I got
which
that
is,
point. Like
yeah,
I'm asking about the
yeah,
time duration. Like what is the minimum time interval between
minimum
which
time interval
the
is
research
minimum
happens?
time interval is 15 minutes.
15 minutes.
Yes, for each and every 15 minutes we can do the refresh.
Okay. Yeah.
That again
So
depends.
suppose say, yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead, please.
yeah, that again depends on the import and direct query. For example, if there is an import, I mean if the model is built out of import model, then the refresh will be only 8 times per day. I mean 8 times
Okay.
only the refresh can be done for the Power BI
Okay.
Pro account. So that is again your choice whether we have to maintain the schedule for each 1 hour or 15 minutes or half an hour, but up to only 8 times. But for the direct query, it is not pulling the data. It is just establishing the connection to the data source. So it will be the near real time. I mean, not very real time. It will be the very near time. That is 15 minutes refresh.
Like 15
And
minutes.
if
Okay.
yeah, 15 minutes. And if it is go to the Power BI Premium, which I was telling, this is the dedicated capacity for handling the data. There we can schedule the data refresh for every 5 minutes also.
Okay.
So that is the
Okay.
offering from Power BI.
Yeah. So take an example like my company is very big and I have some thousands of reports. Everything is published to Power BI service, and we have
Okay.
different line of businesses and different business users and business managers and CEOs, VPs. Everyone is having their own set of security privileges and their own set of reports. So everyone is running a
Yes.
report. And
Yes.
obviously, as you told, I'll be scheduling the jobs like maybe 15 minutes
Mhm.
for all the reports, like maybe thousands or 10,000 reports. I'll be scheduling the automatic refresh for 15 minutes. So, what is the
Mhm.
performance impact on Power BI? Like, is there any concept of performance impact on Power BI
Yes. Yes.
or?
Yes. 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 Let me tell you that you are telling of 1,000 reports, right? It not depends on the report level. It depends on the data set level. See, even 1,000 reports also can be built on top of only one data set. In general, what the best practice is, that is what SSAS comes in the in between. Like, we have a data set with all the data with the proper model. Out of that one data set alone, based on the actual use case, we can build 10 reports or 15 reports. That happens. That is possible. So it is not like for each and every report we will have one data set. Even that is not a good practice. Like, we can have each and one data set for each and every report. Generally, we build a model kind of. On top of that model, I mean, in the model I'm talking is the star schema kind of model, where we have the facts and dimensions are involved. So based on top of that, we can start developing the reports. It can be 10 or it can be 15 or it can be one also. So that is one thing I have to clarify. Like, it is not depend on, like, for each and every report one data set. And again, the
Okay.
performance. If you are telling that we're handling different businesses and different users are using the reports. So if there is a different business, so the all the data sources for each and every business differs. See, if a guy is working on, I mean, looking at the reports, the underlying data source might be different. The other report data source might be different. So the schedule refresh is depends on the data. I mean, the actual data source. So even though you schedule the refresh parallelly for the different sources, that source is different and this source is different. So there will not be any impact.
But the Power BI service is same, right? Like everything is getting extracted into the cloud.
Yes. Yeah, that again, see, the data refresh comes into picture. It is based on the source. Even though the service itself handles that, but the underlying source is different. So the refresh mechanism, whatever we have in Power BI service, doesn't impact the actual source. That is one thing. And when we schedule the refresh in the same time for multiple sources, we have a dedicated server for Power BI. I mean, this Power BI service, whatever we call, it is deployed in a server, right? So that
Yeah.
server, whatever the configuration, we have to make sure it is properly set up. So that is the one we have to take care. That is by the admins.
But
So based
I
on that,
do. I mean, sorry, I don't know. But do we have access to the server? Like, can we configure that
no,
or
no. If you are admin, Power BI admin, you can have.
access
Even
to the
in
online
the,
server?
yes, the Power BI server, the Power BI which is hosted. I mean, the Power BI server.
Oh,
I
you
mean, the
mean
gateway
the
server I am
Power
talking.
BI server hosted on Microsoft Cloud, right?
Yes, the gateway server I'm talking. The gateway server. Like I was talking enterprise gateway, right?
Okay. No, no.
Enterprise
Like,
gateways.
no. My question is that like since the Power BI service is running on cloud, so obviously there will be
Yes.
Microsoft servers running on Microsoft Azure. Like those
Yes.
servers
Yes.
would be taken care by those guys. So like the
Yeah.
reason why I'm asking is that in CRM I mean Dynamics CRM also we have the online CRM online version where
Mm-hmm.
we don't have
Mm-hmm.
access to the servers. Like
Okay.
we cannot write the SQL queries to fetch the data. So we
Okay.
have to write some fetch XML. Like that's a different type of querying language that we use
Okay.
to query the data. So similarly,
Okay.
is there a similar concept in Power BI as well, where the remote server is obscure, or can it be, or is it visible to everyone?
No, it is not. If you are a Power, no. As you said, the Power BI service are hosted online, hosted on cloud, but there is something called we call as gateway. I was talking like gateway, right? Gateway
Okay.
is something which is used for data refresh. It means that gateway is the one which establishes the connection between the Power BI service and the underlying data source.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that gateway should be installed in a Power BI server. We have a dedicated server where the gateway is installed. So based on the server where the gateway is installed, the data refresh also the performance impacts. So if the server configuration is very pretty good, then the gateway whatever we have in the server can pull the data efficiently. If not, there'll be a timeout obviously.
Okay. So you mean to say that Power BI gateways are the bottleneck here?
Yes, Power BI gateways. No, Power BI gateways are not the where the Power BI gateways are installed. The
Yeah,
server
the
where the
server.
Power BI gateways. Yes, the enterprise gateways. Yes. So because of that only, we have Power BI Premium where Microsoft provides the dedicated server for your workspace. It means we have something I'll show. Okay, let me finish this and like we have something I'll show like how that works. We have Power BI desktop and we will start developing the reports from multiple sources and we will publish these reports to Power BI service, and from the Power BI service whatever the reports we have using the gateways, we have something called gateways. That is one which actually gets the data or pulls the data from the actual data source. I mean your organization data means whatever the data we have in an organization. This is the one through the Power BI gateways only the data will be processing from the source to Power BI service, and again it can be accessed via mobiles or tabs or PCs. So this is the basic architecture of Power BI. So to your point, we have something called workspaces, right?
Yeah.
So this is generally workspace is something where we can create our dashboards and reports and workbooks and dataset. So collection of all these together can be called as workspace. Similarly, we have this is my workspace means it is your workspace. It is dedicated to you. But we have something called create app workspace. It means that we can create a earlier it was called as group workspace and now they have renamed to app workspace recently. It means that it is your personal workspace. It is your personal sandbox. This workspace is something dedicated to the your project. For example, you can create a workspace and you will be publishing all the reports and data set to that workspace. So if we have 10 workspaces here in Power BI service, whatever the configuration, whatever the services we have, I mean the cloud offerings we have to maintain this Power BI service, it will be resources will be shared across all the workspaces. What are the resources we have? So due to that, if the organization is big and we are handling lots and lots of data with many reports, that is why a Power BI Premium comes into picture, where for each and every workspace there will be dedicated server for each and every workspace or for certain group of workspaces. It means that your data and your processing will be taken care of by Microsoft using dedicated server. That is also the cloud
Okay.
offering. Again,
Okay.
that
So
is
by app workspaces, you mean like it is a combination of different my workspaces, right? Like different
no,
people's workspaces.
different, not different my workspaces. It is a custom workspace. It is again for one project we can create a workspace actually, because for example when you are working on project A, all the A related reports and data sets and dashboards will be in that workspace. If again B is other project, all related to that will be other workspace.
Okay. So you mean to say that Microsoft will provide a dedicated server for each workspace, like each app
Yes,
workspace?
yes. That is what we call Power BI Premium. That again, it is the
Premium.
company's wish whether to purchase or not. But by default, Power BI Premium is not free. We have to purchase that.
Okay. And do you know like what is the difference between the cost of license for Power BI Pro and Power BI Premium?
Power BI Pro is again $10 per month, and Power BI Premium we have three offerings like S1, S2, S3. Like S1 is the highest and S3 is the lowest. And that again based on the resources we have, I mean, we need for the server, and based on the data we are handling, and based on the refreshes, like how many refreshes we are doing each and every day.
Okay.
So there are many factors involved in the pricing. So we have, by in
Okay.
general, we have S1, S2, S3 kind of pricing for the Power BI Premium.
Okay. Yeah, suppose say I purchased a Power BI Pro license. So
Mm-hmm.
I won't be given a dedicated server. So is this
Mm-hmm.
kind of like multi-tenancy? Do you have the concept of multi-tenancy here? Like multiple tenants in a single server, or like multiple tenants in a single place, like like the single server. So single server
Yeah.
Microsoft server can cater multiple clients. So is this the same concept you have in Power BI?
Yes, but again, I mean, we are not sure where this server has been deployed on Microsoft. I mean, of course, it's a cloud service, but how
Okay.
they are sharing with others, because we don't have
Yeah.
that such
Yeah,
information.
obviously we don't have it, but it is being shared by multiple clients, right? It's
Yes,
not
we
like
share
you
them.
are the only
Yes,
one who is doing it.
no, the services can be shared across.
Okay. But if you want to upgrade to Power BI Premium, obviously you'll be provided with a dedicated
Yes,
server.
dedicated. Yes, dedicated capacity we will have.
Okay, got it.
The
Yeah,
resources are
I
only
think the
for your
architecture.
organization and your workspaces.
Okay, okay. Yeah. I think the architecture looks similar to Dynamics CRM. So yeah,
Yeah, because
that's why I'm a
Microsoft
little bit.
always kind of same similarities we can see. Because even if you see Excel, the Excel guy comes. Microsoft is similarly kind of Excel. This Power BI, because it is like the same only. Because earlier we have Power Pivot and Power Map and Power Query. Everything is Excel add-ins. Now Power BI Desktop or Power BI Service is a combination of all into a single product.
Okay, okay. So is it that like we need to be cautious or aware before developing the reports? Like, do we need to consider performance, or like we can simply go ahead and blindly
No, no,
develop?
no. Development, see, in the report development, performance and all doesn't come, but the data handling comes into picture. Like, see, for example, whatever the data we are handling, if it is very huge, that also we have to take into consideration while going with the import or direct query, or let's just say a stabler model in the middle layer, something like that. That doesn't
Okay.
matter of the reports, only matters the data and how we are handling and the calculations.
So how
The
do we
reports, of
handle
course,
the data? How do
required.
we manipulate the data? And what is the gateways that we are using to extract the data? So all those matters
Yes,
for the
yes,
performance, and not
yes,
the final
yes.
output, like not the final report generation.
No, again,
What?
based on this, the final output also, whatever the report we are giving or showing to the end users, should be looking good, right? So even we have to take care of the formatting of the report, and again the aesthetic appearance, like how the report is eye catching. Even that also should be taken care. It's not like just developing, just giving one sample kind of report. It should be organized in a way so that the end user or the business user should understand the data in the report and the metrics whatever we have been defined.
Okay. Suppose say one of my business user comes to me asking that, so this particular Power BI report that I have published to him, so it is taking
Mm-hmm.
longer time, like more than 5 minutes to display the
Mm-hmm.
data and data. So how should I
Mm-hmm.
debug it? Like how should I find the culprit, and like what
That
might be
again,
the
like
possible causes?
yeah, that again, whatever is taking time, right? Maybe it is the data is being refreshed at that time, or that again depends whether it is import one or direct one. Without seeing that, we cannot tell.
Okay. So you mean to say that we need to look at the data
The
modeling
actual
and the
source.
architecture of the data?
No, the data source,
How do
how
you
the data
handle
is
it?
being pulled. Yeah, whether it is an import model or direct query model, and what is the schedule refresh we have defined on top of that.
Okay.
So everything, whether it's a
Okay.
personal gateway or it is a cloud source or it is the enterprise gateway model. So there are many factors involved in it.
Okay. Okay.
Any others in the call?
Yeah, this is Lakshmi.
Hi, Lakshmi. So yeah, this is how the Power BI works, and I'll be walking you through everything. Like it is, we are not restricted to only Power BI desktop. This is called the Power BI desktop. What I was telling earlier. This is where we start developing our reports. But there are many others like service, DAX, SSS tabular. So like because a few people will restrict to only Power BI desktop because yeah, Power BI desktop is something where you can download for free. So everyone will start demonstrating that. But we have to know as a real-time guy, and because again, if you are switching to internal project, that is a different story. And if you are searching for a new job, or when if you are changing your entire domain, then we need to be aware of like what exactly the real-time guy does, and by the service, and what exactly we have in service, everything we should know. So that is why I have come up with like a complete kind of package, like from scratch to the advanced, like everything which is complete in the source. And we'll start regular sessions based on the enrollments we have, like from next week or probably from Monday. And so initially we'll be seeing this different options here in Power BI desktop. Then we'll start getting the data from the sources, where here we have the sources configured in Power BI desktop, the different sources in Power BI, and we'll start getting the data from any of the Excel sources, SQL Server source, or OData feed, whatever is available. And we'll see we have something called Power Query Editor, where we can, once getting the data into the Power BI desktop, we can edit the data, or we can start editing the data. That we'll see. Then these are the options I have. I mean, I was telling this Power Query Editor, and once it is done, and we'll start developing the reports with the help of these visuals. And also we can import the custom visuals from Marketplace or Market Store, whatever we call. And we have the custom visuals here. We can even add these visuals, and we can make our report looks better. And again, we have something called fields and formatting options we have, and themes, everything.
So will you be
Then
walking
once
us through each and every button in the user interface, like
yes,
how it
yes,
works,
yes,
different tabs?
yes, yes, each and everything, and most of these buttons, I mean, I think everything, because I've been using almost everything. If I couldn't also, I mean, I will gather information, I will tell. But almost I use everything. But
Okay.
in general, we use only few. For example, in the view section, we use only grid lines, and we use only lock objects. And again, bookmark pen, selection pen. The field properties we use, but again, it is just again a kind of visualization tab. We will be getting a field properties, something like that. So these are the one which we generally don't use, but I'll be walking you through. And again, this phone layout and desktop layout, how, because for developing the reports for the mobile, we need to be developing the reports in a way that such that the end user or have to consume the reports in Power BI mobile as well. So for that, the layout should be different. I mean, layout will be differs, and based on that, we have to start developing the reports. And we're gonna have something called modeling and everything.
And also you will be discussing the service as well, right? The Power BI service,
Yes,
how
yes,
to publish
service.
the report, get
I
the
will be providing the account as well for you, so that it is not like, see, in general service, like I'll be showing the screen, and I'll be telling like what exactly the service and what workspace and that works. That is what I was telling. I will be providing the credentials as well, the domain credentials for each one of you who are enrolled for the course. So you can use it till the end of the course, at least for 1 month, to get hands-on on what exactly the Power BI and different, I mean, service and different options. Like how
okay.
I'm logged in currently. You can be your credentials with your name. I'll be providing that as well.
And also the queries, right? The importing and the edit query and
Yes, yes,
GA.
everything. So that is what I was telling. It is like complete from end to end, and once it is this When once you have gone through all these, and you'll be confident that you cannot look back and something is missing in the Power BI. End-to-end will be covering.
Okay. And
There is not
in
only
your session, like what are the connectors that you are using? Are you using dynamic CRM anywhere?
no, because currently even in my organization also we don't have dynamic CRM. So see, the connectors is not the important here. The way is how we are getting the data, because if we have connectors, we can establish connection, we can get the data. So once getting data, what and all we have to do, that is the Power BI desktop. See, connection varies. Okay, if give the Excel, if I take the Excel from the desktop, that is one of the source. Similarly, the CRM and SQL Server or whatever, the connectors are different, but connectors is something up to where we can get the data. So after getting data, what and all we have to do is something taken care of by Power BI desktop. It is not like
Okay.
connectors, because all the companies doesn't use the same connectors, right? So the company, based on the business they are doing, the connectors differs. The important is getting data and working on the data.
Sounds good. And can you
Lakshmi, any
explain, like
questions?
if you have some time, can you explain the security model? Yeah, sorry. Please go.
Sorry? Yeah, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Like if you have some time, can you explain the security model? Like how is the security implemented in Power BI? So that like two types. So one is if I share a report with someone, so other users should not see the report. And the second thing
Yes.
is the data. Like the end business user should not be able to look at the data, like the underlying
Yes.
beneath data. So he should be
Yes.
only looking at, or he should only have a visual appearance or the
Yes.
statistics, like what is the
Yeah.
calculation or what is the exact count. That's it. Like he should not see
Yes.
the underlying data. So
Yes.
how is that implemented?
No, that is not something which they can tell in theoretically. That is, again, I have to get the data and I have to edit the data and I have to implement the security. That is, again, it will take an hour to understand.
Okay.
That will be discussed in regular classes. So any other questions? Lakshmi, do you have any questions till now? So far so good, or
Yeah, so
are you
far
stuck?
so good. I'm pretty much new to Power BI, so I need to, listen to more
Okay,
sessions and
fine.
then, come up with
Yeah,
questions.
like, do you have exposure to any other BI tool, like any
Uh,
SSRS,
yeah, SSRS.
Cognos?
Yeah, I was using SSRS, SSIS, and a quite bit of VBA, Excel reporting. So all this
Oh, then
recently.
fine. Then it will be pretty.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
that will be pretty easy for you then.
yeah. So let's see.
Any others in the call apart from Yashwant and Lakshmi? Okay, guys. So based on like your enrollment, and we'll start the sessions as soon as possible and the same time, or we can start from 7 to 8 Indian time, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. IST, or 6:30 a.m. So it depends. I'll be telling the schedule.
Okay. So next week, right? Starting from next week.
Yeah, from Monday, because anyway it is Friday, right?
If possible,
Kind
yeah,
Okay.
hi. So, like, interrupt. If possible, we can have a session tomorrow also. Okay.
Okay. Tomorrow morning, the same time.
Yeah. If possible, like session
Oh,
Power BI.
You mean
Sorry.
like
okay,
demo
fine.
session or starting the classes?
Class one. Class one.
Okay,
Oh,
fine.
okay, if possible. Okay.
Tomorrow morning at same time.
Okay.
Okay, everybody.
So how
Really,
do we
yeah.
enroll? Sorry. How do we enroll?
I will update. I will
Okay.
update. Like I will call you after the class. Okay, fine.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And I have two more questions. So I don't know if those questions are directed for Murali or Suresh, but anyone can answer. The first